Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to sift through the sources, pull out those key nuggets, and basically give you the shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're tackling something, well, profoundly important, not just for society, but also super relevant if you're prepping for exams like the UPSC mains or prelims, and frankly, essential for any informed citizen. We're diving deep into children's access to justice in India, and we're drawing heavily on a really insightful piece from the print. It makes you think of what Mahatma Gandhi said, doesn't it?
Yes.
If we are to teach real peace, we shall have to begin with the children. Really sets the stage.
It absolutely does. And, Gandhi's vision, it feels most challenged, perhaps, not in big conflicts, but in these quieter struggles of children denied justice. His words really hit home. Child justice isn't some side issue. It's fundamental. It's a real measure of a society's integrity, you could say. So our mission today, to really extract the core insights from this material, understand where India stands, pinpoint the persistent challenges, and look at the solutions being discussed. And for you listening, whether you're aiming to be an administrator or just want to grasp India's governance, social issues, legal frameworks, this is key stuff.
That's a great way to frame it, child justice as a cornerstone. Okay, so let's unpack that cornerstone. What exactly is children's access to justice? Because it's not just courtrooms, right?
Not at all. It's much broader. It's about fighting inequality, challenging discrimination, getting back entitlements that were denied, making sure everyone, state actors, private actors, fulfills their duties to kids.
Right. And this isn't just an Indian concern, it's global. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child even has a whole general comment, number 27, just on this access to justice and effective remedies. It's recognized worldwide.
And India, to its credit, has built a pretty solid legal foundation on paper. We've got key laws like the POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offenses.
A crucial one.
Absolutely. And the Juvenile Justice Act, the JJ Act for kids in conflict with the law. But it's not just those. There's the laws against child marriage, the Right to Education Act. It's a whole framework.
And these are backed up by other efforts too, yeah, like strategic litigation, government schemes, NGOs doing work on the ground, and LSA.
Exactly. It's a multi-pronged approach. These laws, they represent a commitment, or they should, to safeguarding children's futures.
Okay, so it sounds like a really strong shield on paper. But, and this seems to be the big but, if the framework is so robust, why are we still seeing such significant problems on the ground? What's the main bottleneck?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? The insight here, I think, is that a great law is only half the story. Justice is about that last mile delivery. And for kids, especially vulnerable ones, that last mile can be incredibly difficult.
Implementation gap.
Precisely. Having the laws doesn't mean everyone can actually access the justice they promise. It boils down to implementation, reach, effectiveness, especially for the most marginalized.
And this is where the picture gets quite stark. Despite the laws, these huge barriers remain.
Right.
Especially, as you said, for children from marginalized communities, rural areas, maybe conflict zones. The Crime in India report for 2022, the numbers are staggering. 162,449 crimes against children reported. Compare that to about 30,500 crimes by children.
Wow. That's a huge disparity.
It is. More than 5 times the number of victims compared to offenders. It just screens out the need for effective remedies for these child victims.
And it shows these aren't just, isolated incidents. They're connected challenges, systemic issues that hit the most vulnerable hardest. And often, the hurdles start way before they even see a courtroom door.
Okay, so let's talk about those pre-justice system barriers. What stops a child even before they get near the system? Often it starts with social stigma, right? Discrimination.
Definitely. Caste, gender, just plain fear. Fear of reporting to teachers, police, even local leaders. The article mentioned recent events in Kolkata where even young adults felt too scared to speak out. Imagine how much harder it is for a child.
That silence is a massive barrier in itself.
Huge. And then, let's say a child does find the courage. They seek help. Ironically, the system itself can become the next wall. Legal aid, for instance. It's mandated by law, free legal aid.
Right.
But it often goes to children in conflict with the law, not so much the victims. That's a critical gap. And the lawyers provided, often overburdened, maybe not well trained in specific child rights issues. There are even allegations, the article notes, of malpractice lawyers not showing up to court or trying to collect fees when the service should be free. This just drags out inquiries, denies real justice.
So a right on paper becomes almost meaningless in practice for some.
Sadly, yes. A right without accessible, effective implementation. It's theoretical for too many children.
And then there's geography. You mentioned initiatives often being in big cities. What about rural kids?
Right. They might end up relying on things like village panchayats, local councils. They mean well, maybe, but they often lack formal legal training or child-sensitive procedures you'd find, or should find, in a proper court. And in conflict zones like J&K or Manipur, access can be severely limited, sometimes non-existent.
And specific groups face extra hurdles too. Street children, maybe child domestic workers.
Exactly. Lack of documents, fear of authorities, their socioeconomic situation, it all piles up. It feels like even good laws can hit this wall of human factors: fear, bureaucracy, lack of resources.
It's definitely not a lack of intent in the laws themselves, it seems. It's this complicated mess of social, economic, and systemic problems stopping the laws from working for everyone.
That sums it up well. The challenge is in bridging that gap between the legal promise and the lived reality.
So, okay, we've laid out the problems. What about solutions? How do we make the system genuinely child-sensitive, truly accessible? The print article had some concrete recommendations.
Yes, and they point towards a more supportive system.
Things like having properly trained legal aid counsel, people who understand child rights specifically, and creating child-friendly courts. Judges trained for this. Imagine a courtroom designed differently, maybe less intimidating, where people use plain language, translators are readily available, where support persons, caseworkers, are there for the child and family.
That focus on child-friendly procedures is vital. It signals a move away from just punishment towards something more restorative, more supportive, recognizing kids as actual rights holders with specific needs.
And practical things, too, like using video conferencing. That could make a huge difference for remote areas, right? Cutting down travel costs, trauma.
Absolutely. Technology can bridge some of those geographic gaps.
And crucially, it's not just about the court process. The article stressed comprehensive child services beyond the courtroom: counseling, therapy, psychiatric help if needed, social reintegration, education support, financial aid.
Holistic support. Because the harm isn't just legal, it's emotional, social.
Exactly. And underpinning all this, the need for better data, consistently tracking violations, where they happen, who's affected by gender, caste, the type of crime. That allows for targeted strategies.
A data-driven approach is essential for smart policy, knowing where the real bottlenecks are.
And we've seen strategic litigation make a real difference here, pushed by child rights groups. Like that State v. Sujit Kumar case in 2014, the court actually ordered separate deposition complexes for kids.
A tangible change.
Or Komfakir Shah v. Ministry of Labor this year, directing magistrates to rescue child laborers and get them their back wages. And another case forced the transfer of kids under 18 from adult prisons to observation homes.
These cases show the judiciary stepping in, often prompted by advocates, to make the system live up to the laws. It's turning the written word into reality.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. India's also brought in specific innovations, especially within its laws, and using tech. Let's look at the POCSO Act again.
Right, 2012. It has some important best practices built in.
Like appointing a support person, someone specifically there for emotional and psychological support during the whole legal process. That sounds invaluable.
It really can be. Reducing trauma, helping the child navigate the system.
And those vulnerable witness deposition complexes we mentioned, having counselors and translators available, letting child victims be heard during bail hearings for the accused. These are practical, child-focused measures.
They absolutely are. And the JJ Act, the Juvenile Justice Act of 2015, also has specific provisions aiming for a less intimidating, more rehabilitative approach.
Like magistrates wearing plain clothes, not robes, to seem more approachable.
Yes, that's one example. Also, trying to resolve petty offenses quickly, within 6 months, or just terminate them. Appointing project monitors to oversee a child's rehabilitation plan.
And confidentiality is key too, right? Protecting the child's identity. Plus, that right to be forgotten for children in conflict with the law, so a mistake doesn't define their whole life.
That's crucial for reintegration. It's about offering a second chance.
And then there's the technology side. The government's using tech to fight these crimes and find missing kids.
Yes, the Ministry of Home Affairs has the National Database on Sexual Offenders, the NDSO. The report mentioned over 1.2 million records by 2022-23, a tool for tracking.
And the ISO, Investigation Tracking System for Sexual Offenses. It's cloud-based, tracks investigations, apparently improved compliance.
Using tech for better oversight and follow-through.
And perhaps most dramatically, the Track Child portal and facial recognition software. You mentioned the Delhi police trial, finding 3,000 missing kids in just 4 days.
Incredible result. Shows the potential of targeted tech.
Alongside this, there are specific legal aid schemes too. Nellos's child-friendly legal services scheme.
Right, including things like mobile clinics to reach rural areas, taking the service to the children. It shows that multi-pronged approach, again, laws, tech, targeted aid, community outreach.
And you mentioned restorative justice earlier. Even if it's not explicit in the JJ Act, some NGOs are pioneering this, aren't they? Creating safe spaces for healing, rehabilitation, like Infold India, Council to Secure Justice.
Yes, that's vital work, moving beyond just the punitive aspect. And we can't overlook the grassroots level.
The Anganwadi workers.
Exactly. Under the ICDS scheme, they're on the front lines in communities. They play such a key role in reporting violations, connecting victims with help. They bridge that gap between the child and the formal institutions.
It really takes a village, or in this case, a coordinated system involving everyone from tech experts to community workers.
That integration is absolutely crucial for making justice accessible on the ground.
So all these different threads, the laws, the tech, the grassroots efforts, the schemes seem to come together under one big umbrella, Mission Vatsalya.
That's right. Launched by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, 2021-2022. It basically amalgamated 3 older schemes that dealt with juvenile justice, street children, and children's homes. Bundled them together.
To create a more unified approach.
Exactly. It's presented as a model for coordinated, rights-based governance for child protection. It promotes family-based care over institutions, pushes for legal adoption, strengthens emergency helplines 24/7 access. It aims for better coordination across all levels, from panchayats up to the central government. Encourages private sector involvement, too.
And it integrates those digital platforms we talked about, Track Child, Carings for Adoption, Koya Paya for missing kids into one system.
Yes, a unified digital ecosystem. Plus,
Yep.
There's financial support through the PM Cares for Children initiative.
It definitely sounds comprehensive, holistic, looking at the legal side, but also the social, emotional, financial aspects.
It does. But this brings us back to that crucial question you raised earlier.
The implementation gap.
Right. How does such a comprehensive scheme truly translate into real benefits for every single child? Everywhere in the country. That remains the ongoing challenge. The model looks good, the intent is clear, but delivery that needs constant focus.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive. The big takeaway seems crystal clear. Access to justice isn't some extra. It's a fundamental right for every child, period. And while India's made undeniable progress, strong laws, innovative tech, ambitious programs like Mission Vatsalya, there's still a long way to go. Making justice truly inclusive, truly child-sensitive, truly accessible, especially for the most vulnerable kids.
Absolutely. It needs that comprehensive intersectional approach we've discussed. Strengthening legal aid, yes, but also expanding restorative practices, properly leveraging technology, and really empowering communities at the grassroots.
It's not just one thing, it's everything working together.
Exactly, and connecting it to the bigger picture, realizing this vision needs sustained political will. It needs real coordination between different government departments, NGOs, the legal system, and crucially, shifting perspective, seeing children not just as people needing care, but as active rights holders. And the NGOs doing this vital work across the country, they need encouragement, support, including financial help, to keep bridging those gaps between policy promises and lived reality.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe a challenge for you, listener.
Yes. What role can you play? As an informed citizen, maybe a future leader, perhaps someone studying for the UPSC exams, how can you contribute to making sure every child's right to justice isn't just words on paper, but something they actually experience? How do we ensure the spirit of these laws, this mission, reaches every single child in every corner of this incredibly diverse country?
Really powerful questions to leave us with. Thank you for joining us on this really critical deep dive into children's access to justice in India. We hope this discussion gave you valuable insights, food for thought, and for our UPSC aspirants, useful points for your studies. If you found this valuable, please do like this deep dive, subscribe to the deep dive for more discussions like this, and drop us a comment. Let us know your questions, your thoughts. We genuinely love hearing from you and seeing what resonated. Until the next deep dive, stay informed.